Have you ever heard about a Russian soldier who cried while singing a Filipino song in a tiny Moscow karaoke bar? Sounds unbelievable, right? But one freezing night, something happened that nobody in the room could forget. And here's the crazy twist. What happened that night actually started years earlier, in a place he never expected to visit. The story begins with a man named Dmitry Vulov, a 43-year-old engineer from St. Petersburg. Before 2020, Dmitry barely knew anything about the Philippines. He didn't know Tagalog, didn't know what a jeepney was, and he definitely didn't know why Filipinos loved karaoke so much. To him, singing was something Russians only did when they were drunk, celebrating, or trying to stay warm. But everything changed when his company sent him to Batangas. Dmitry expected chaos, heat, and maybe a few friendly smiles. But the very first thing he noticed wasn't the weather or the traffic, it was music. Music everywhere. Workers sang while carrying heavy bags. Jeepney drivers hummed while waiting at terminals. Even cooks sang while flipping eggs like it was a normal thing to do. Dmitry was shocked. It felt like the whole country breathed music the same way other places breathed air. At first, he only listened. He didn't understand the words, but somehow he understood the feelings behind them. Joy, sadness, hope, all mixed together. One night, his Filipino co-workers invited him to a karaoke bar. They laughed, danced, and passed the mic around like it was a family tradition. Then someone sang a song called Anak. The room felt completely silent. Even the electric fan sounded loud. Dmitry didn't understand the lyrics, but he felt something heavy inside the melody. Something warm, but painful. After the song, he whispered, "What does Anak mean?" "It means child," his friend said with a smile. That night, Dmitry couldn't sleep. The melody wouldn't leave his mind. It reminded him of his mother back in Russia, the one he hadn't called in years because of a small fight. A stupid one. When his contract finally ended, Dmitry returned to Russia with just one special souvenir, a USB filled with Filipino songs. Winter in St. Petersburg was colder than ever, but inside Dmitry's apartment, something felt different. He played Anak almost every night. He didn't know each line, but he understood the feeling: regret, love, forgiveness. It felt like the song knew him. One evening after listening to the song again, Dmitry finally picked up his phone and called his mother. When she answered, he didn't know what to say. So he just played the song for her. There was silence. Then, in a soft, shaking voice, she said, "That's beautiful, my son." And that was the moment something inside Dmitry changed forever. Months passed, and life in Russia slowly went back to normal. Cold mornings, long workdays, and quiet nights. But Anak never left Dmitry's heart. He listened to it while cooking, while cleaning, even while waiting for the metro. The song felt like a friend who always told him the truth. One snowy Friday night, his friends begged him to join them at a small karaoke bar in Moscow. Dmitry didn't want to go at first, but something inside him said, "Why not?" So he went. The bar was dim, filled with cigarette smoke and the smell of hot soup. People laughed loudly. Some sang old Russian songs. Others tried rock music. Then someone handed Dmitry the mic. He froze. His hands shook. But he searched the song list anyway. And there it was. Anak, Freddie Aguilar. The screen lit up blue. The slow guitar started. The whole room grew quiet. Even the bartender stopped wiping glasses. Dmitry started singing. Not perfectly, not confidently, but with his whole heart. When he reached the chorus, his voice cracked. Tears rolled down his face. He didn't even try to hide them. The people watching didn't understand the Tagalog lyrics, but somehow they felt the emotion anyway. Someone recorded the moment on their phone. The next morning, Dmitry woke up to hundreds of notifications. By noon, it was thousands. By the next day, millions. The video went viral all over Russia. People wrote comments like, "This is real emotion. He sings like he lived in the Philippines. I don't know the words, but I can feel the pain." Soon, TV shows talked about him. News reporters called him the Russian man with a Filipino heart. But here's where the twist comes in. Other Russians started singing Filipino songs too. Teenagers, soldiers, teachers, nurses, even grandmas with shaky voices. They posted videos singing "Bakit pa?", "Dahil sayo," and "Tuloy pa rin." They didn't understand every word, but they understood the feeling. Karaoke bars added Tagalog songs to their playlists. Online shops sold Filipino-style karaoke machines. TikTok was flooded with Russians singing with thick accents and big smiles. People called it the warmth wave. Soon, something even more surprising happened. A young teacher in Siberia named Irina Petrova saw Dmitry's viral video. Her town was always covered in snow. Winters felt like they lasted forever, and the kids in her school were always tired and sad. So she printed the lyrics of a Filipino song and told her students, "Today, let's try something different." They sang "Tuloy pa rin." At first, the kids giggled. The words sounded strange, but slowly their voices grew stronger. They started humming the tune in the hallways. They told Irina the song made them feel warm on the inside. Parents noticed their children smiling more. Teachers noticed the halls felt brighter. Even the local radio station played the kids' version of the song, calling it Warm Songs for Cold Hearts. What started as one Filipino song in one bar had now reached the coldest part of Russia. News about the Siberian schools spread fast, faster than anyone expected. Videos of the kids singing Filipino songs reached Moscow, Manila, and even parts of Europe. People were shocked that children living in a place colder than a freezer were singing tropical music with big smiles on their faces. Soon, the Philippine embassy in Moscow heard about everything. They were amazed. They had never seen anything like it before. Filipino songs becoming popular in one of the coldest countries on earth. So they invited Irina, the teacher, and Dmitry to join a new program called Songs Without Borders. It would be the first time Filipino and Russian singers shared the same stage. No competition, no fancy effects, just heart, just music. When the big night came, the hall was packed. People of all ages filled the seats. Some were holding Philippine flags, others held Russian flags. Some held microphones, ready to sing. The lights dimmed. Dmitry walked on stage. His heart was pounding, but he felt calm at the same time. He started singing Anak, but this time, something special happened. He sang the first verse in Russian. The Filipino choir standing behind him answered by singing the next lines in Tagalog. The two languages mixed so beautifully that people in the audience froze in awe. Some covered their mouths, some started crying softly. The sound felt like two worlds becoming one. When the last note ended, the entire hall stood up. There was silence for 2 seconds, and then a thunder of applause. Some people cried, others hugged strangers next to them. That night changed everything. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Psychologists in Russia started using Filipino songs to help people fight sadness and stress. Hospitals began hosting small karaoke sessions. Old people's homes started singing groups. Even schools added Filipino songs to their music classes. One psychiatrist explained it on TV. Filipino songs are warm. Even when they talk about pain, they bring hope. Russians feel safe singing them. By 2023, almost every big city, Moscow, St. Petersburg, even Siberia, had karaoke communities where people sang Filipino and Russian songs together. They didn't care about perfect voices. They cared about feeling alive. And Dmitry? He became the quiet symbol of the whole movement. Not a celebrity, not a superstar. Just a man who once listened to a song and let it touch his heart. On a talk show, someone asked him, "Why do Filipinos sing so much?" Dmitry smiled and said, "Because they trust life, even when it hurts." That short sentence spread across Russia like wildfire. People wrote it on posters, shirts, and even on train walls. Even when it hurts, sing anyway. By the time 2024 arrived, something amazing was happening across Russia. From Moscow streets to snowy Arctic villages, people were singing Filipino songs almost every night. Not because it was a trend anymore, but because the music felt like sunshine during long winters. Everything built up to one huge event, the Harmony Festival, organized by the Russian Ministry of Culture and the Philippine Embassy. The goal was simple, celebrate friendship through music. But for Dmitry, it felt like a full-circle moment, like the end of a long journey he didn't realize he was on. Red Square shined under bright winter lights. Giant screens showed Russian and Tagalog lyrics side by side. Thousands of people gathered, families, students, soldiers, even priests in long black coats. Some waved Philippine flags. Others held karaoke microphones like it was a celebration of life. When Dmitry walked on stage, he wasn't alone. Behind him stood Irina and her Siberian students, the ones now famous online as the Snow Choir. They wore colorful Filipino clothes given to them by families in Manila. The music started. Dmitry sang the first verse in Russian. The choir answered in Tagalog. Their voices blended like one big prayer floating into the cold air. Then something magical happened. The entire crowd began singing too. Thousands of Russians singing a Filipino song under falling snow. Some cried, some smiled, some just held their hearts. And as the last note of Anak faded, the crowd exploded with cheers that echoed across Red Square. Backstage, an elderly Filipino man approached Dmitry. His name was Ernesto, a retired seaman who had lived in Russia for 30 years. With tears in his eyes, he said, "When I first came here, nobody understood my language. But tonight, everyone sang it. You have no idea how big that is." Dmitry didn't know what to say. He just hugged the man gently. When he returned to the Philippines months later as an invited guest, something unexpected happened again. His video singing Anak in full Tagalog, no Russian parts, went viral overnight. Millions of Russians watched and commented, "We don't need translation, we feel it." The Russian government started adding Filipino songs to school music lessons. Teachers used Tagalog words like salamat for kindness exercises. Streets in St. Petersburg even had murals of Dimitri singing with Filipino kids. One mural read, "Different lands, one song." Even the president mentioned the story in a New Year speech, calling it a bridge built by melody, not politics. Every winter when the first snow fell, Russians gathered in bars and halls to sing Anak, not as a performance, but as a reminder that the heart can stay warm even when the world is cold. Dmitri grew older, his hair turning white. But whenever he sang that song, his eyes lit up like that first night he heard it in Batangas. When he passed away years later, Russia and the Philippines held a joint tribute online. Millions watched, millions sang. Two nations, half a world apart, joined by one melody. And under the tribute video, the top comment said, "A Filipino wrote the song. A Russian carried it, but now the whole world sings it." Because sometimes the strongest revolutions don't start with leaders or wars. They start with a simple song, and one person brave enough to listen.